I'm gonna give them about a minute to jump in, Amna, just so they usually takes about a minute for them all to join.
All right, sounds good.
And thank you very much for joining us. Much appreciated.
Yeah, of course.
Which Shizen program were you in?
I was part of justice. So I did like law
Oh,
and
nice.
psychology and that kind of stuff. Really like that kind of stuff. I still do, even though my program is very different from that. But
Nice.
basically, yeah, it's like really
Very
good.
cool.
The field trips were also really good too.
Yeah, hardly ever. Right? They're some of the best ones I find.
Yeah. Some of my
Oh,
friends
okay.
were a
So
part
we
of
get.
business.
Oh, right. Yeah. So you kind of were able to mix in both then, I guess, at that time.
Yeah. I had like got to see both from like the perspective of them. And then I got to experience justice. I got to go through um like self-defense training and
Nice.
there was some other things too. So
Very
yeah.
cool. Okay, so we got about 35 people in here now. So I'm just going to say hi, everybody. My name is Curtis Vandalite. I'm a teacher with the Ottawa-Carleton District School Board. I'm actually the SHISM coordinator for the OCDSB. And we're very lucky today to have Amna, who uh, completed a SHISM, and she's going to be talking to us about her experiences um, for this. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the Q&A, and I'll try to get to them. But I'm first gonna maybe what I'll do is what I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly go over in general what SHISM is before we get into the conversation with Amna. So I'm just going to share my screen really quick here. Go full screen. Oops. There we are. So, so SHISM, Specialist High Skills Major, if you're unfamiliar with the term, is a program. It's actually I think it might be one of the biggest programs in Ontario that you can take. Uh, what it does is there are different avenues. There are about 13 different sectors you can take. And you can actually see a pretty big wide variety happening here in these photos. These are some of our variety of SHISMs that we have. You can see a manufacturing, transportation, environment is very popular. You can see a lot of our art SHISM students end up in newspapers because they end up doing really cool projects, healthcare, construction. Um, so a lot of these programs. Oh, actually, the health and wellness. You can see they're doing the breathing test. That's a pretty popular one. But really, it's a program meant for grade 11s and 12s who would like to try a specific field, one of the 13 sectors that we have. So what it does is essentially it's 4 major credits that you would be taking, usually in things you're interested in anyways. Uh, you also have access to certifications. So we pay for certifications. Amna and I were just talking about some of the ones she did, for example, because she was in the justice. We'll get that in a moment. But Amna, what are some of the cool experiences that you guys got to do with certifications?
In the program itself, aside from taking like courses like law and psychology, we also got to work with a lot of individuals that were already in the field. So we also got to visit some courthouses and speak to lawyers and like get to know what proceeding courtroom process is like. And then we also got to have it's like a self-defense training, which is also part of the program. And then we also got to go to different universities. Some were included like Brock University, and others more out west. And we got to speak to students and professors in the field, ask them questions about the program, say who were interested, because at the time we're in intermediate high school. So we were able to ask them all the questions that we would wanted to get to know so we can make that decision. And then we also had a lot of programs within the school. So some things like webinars, others were like in-house field trips. So sometimes others would come into the school and they would, do a lot of hands-on activity. It was very
Yeah.
engaging, super helpful. Definitely, like if you had an interest in the field through like a course, you kind of got to see it in real life. And I think that is the most essential thing about justice, like any specialist high school major programs.
Yeah. And did you pay for any of it?
Um, no, I don't think so. Most
Oh,
of it was free.
it's yeah. It was a kind of a leading question. Sorry. It's free, everybody. So all these certifications you get, all the experiences, the rich experiences, the co-op opportunities. So that's experience working in a field that you're interested in. So I just want to really kind of go over that really quickly. I'm not going to go. This is we can talk about this after if you wanted to, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually turn this off, and I think I'm going to start. We're actually going to have a conversation now, and so I'm just going to close this down. Remember how to do it. There it is. Cancel. Okay, I'll just do. Okay, I'll leave it on. What I'll do instead is I'm going to start asking some questions. That's a pretty deep question to start off with. What was your pathway planning process? Instead, if you don't mind, Amna, I'm gonna just ask you a bit about your experience in your SHISM. What can you tell the people who are watching what the SHISM program you were in?
The student program that I was in was justice. So it covered a lot of any like social justice programs. So I was like law, psychology, teaching, healthcare, all that was kind of like fallen into this specialized high school major. But it mostly focuses on like, doing good for the world or like your community. So it falls in a lot of like community service. Another thing that is part of the program was co-op. So you get to choose a place that you want to work at. Some people in my program worked at with a lawyer that in like a law firm. I work with a school that was close to me. I work with grade seven, so I got to teach and facilitate a lot of lessons and get to know what the grading process is like, um, and report cards. And then the other thing I got to do was also, just meet a lot of different people, diverse backgrounds. So there was sometimes like I got to meet lawyers that were in the field for 20 plus years, and they got to share a lot of their setbacks and a lot of their like challenges and things that just really inspired them to go forward. And then there were other individuals like professors where you could ask them about the program, even though different from school to school, you kind of get like the general idea of what the program is like and what you might experience. So it's a lot of like engagement with not just inside the school, but around. Because like that is pretty much what justice is. Like you're working alongside a large amount of people in the community.
Cool. That's awesome. We have I'm just going to answer a quick question here. I have is SHISM in every district? It is. If you're in Ontario, there's a SHISM. All SHISMs are available. So we're talking about the OCDSB today, but the Catholic Board just in this city, every single school board, every single one has SHISMs available. Yeah. So I just wanted to get that
Yeah.
across. Feel free to keep shooting some great questions, guys. Oh, I see two more right here. Sure. What are the benefits of SHISM? Did you want to answer that a bit, Anna, or would you like me to?
I can answer that.
Sure.
So some benefits like of specialist high school major programs. You have a passion, like so say it's just like a think of it like a hobby that you have within your home, right? You like cooking, you like, volunteering, you like working with a nursing home or anything like that. This program really likes to expand on that. So it's not just working individually, but working collaboratively. And you get to really get a lot of hands-on experience. Like I said, through the co-op program that some of my friends were in and I was in, I got to experience the field a lot more, got to see the challenges that were in it. Um, excuse me. Um, it was like the benefit also lies in the fact that you're getting to experience it while you're still young, right? Because before you make that post-secondary decision, you get to already know what post-secondary is like before you actually start applying. And that is really important, I find. It's like before you get to do something that's so important and so big in your life, because post-secondary is like making a huge commitment in life. Even though it can change, but the the benefit here is that you can actually like experience it before you get further in life. And then,
And
you
you,
know,
Emma, you're saying you kind of discovered that as cool as a schism was, that wasn't the area you want to go in. Is that true?
it was still like, even though I'm not in justice related programs right now,
Hmm.
I'm in graphic design, right, at
Oh,
OCAD
there you go.
University.
Yeah.
But how does this still apply to me? It's because most of my work is community based and justice based. And that's like a huge focus on accessibility, something to do with helping others, which is something that I really like doing. Even when I was in the justice program, like it was more not just focused on law or psychology, but focused on community building. And that is exactly what I do. In art, you can build a community through art. So
Yes.
right now I'm in thesis and my work is surrounding accessibility in like structural design, like wayfinding, architecture, and it's like taking my own experience as someone who is hearing impaired and really implying that. So even though it might seem like it's not relevant in the future, it is so relevant no matter what. Like you take that piece of knowledge, you take it wherever you go, in my opinion.
So just one question I have here. It says, how did it help? I might just expand that. Did it help you once you were in post secondary? Did it help you get into the school? Did it anything like that?
It definitely did because going into post-secondary, there's a lot of things that they look into, not just grades, but they also look into your community involvement. Like where did you volunteer? What did you do? For how long did you do it for? And they also look at, you know, like what do you do for the community? Like grades are one thing, but are you doing good for the community as you should be? Um, they usually ask those kind of questions for any schools. Like, you know, when I was applying here, they asked me what I was involved in, what kind of extracurriculars, what kind of programs what I was in, and I did tell them about the justice program that I was in, as well as all of the extracurriculars I was involved within the school.
Yeah,
And, it was impressive for them. And I did get into the schools that I wanted to get in just because of that community involvement. They want to see like how much are you engaged? Are you able to work with others? They really look at the social skills mostly.
that's a great answer. I'll just quickly add, as someone who gets a lot of questions about, I want to be a doctor. One of the big things, I have some friends who are doctors. The first thing they got when they got to medical school was when they're applying was, what extracurriculars did you do? What else did you do? The big question they're always asking is, what else did you do besides get great marks? And because if you think about it, everybody applying has great marks. So these are ways to help you stand out. So very good. That's a great question. How did co-op fit into everything for you when you're in high school? Was that difficult for you fitting in the co-op?
No, actually, getting into co-op was fairly easy. And note that there's two different types of co-op programs. There's 2 credit and I believe 4 credit. So 2 credit is like it takes half the day. So you do 2 courses in the school, and you can go to work. Or you could do a full credit, which is basically you spend the entire day a greater duration of the week in at your placement. So I did the half one. So I had 2 courses in the morning. That was law and psychology. And then I went to the school and I worked there for the rest of the day, all the way until like towards the evening, helping the teacher mark and stuff. It wasn't that difficult to get into. Um, it like they work with your schedule, just like your guidance counselor will design your schedule and they'll let you know like how it's gonna work. Because usually co-op takes place if you're taking the half version, it takes place on the second half of the day. If you're taking the full version, it takes all of your day. You're not taking any courses in the school, you're just taking co-op. It really depends on what you want. And
Hmm.
it's it's a really good experience. Like I know some individuals in the other section, like sectors,
Yeah.
they they did something to do with like apprenticeship. So they were
Hmm.
working on like with mechanics. They were also working with restaurants and like in retail. And
Yep.
the plus side, I will say, of working in retail in co-op is that you can actually get a part-time job out of it. A lot of individuals actually got part-time jobs out of it. A lot of my friends still work at those places that they worked at since co-op.
Yeah, and there are paid co-op opportunities. A little light, not that many, but there are paid co-op opportunities you can find. So that's really cool. I'm just going to continue with this one because Fatima has a great question. Can you do co-op that isn't related to your SHSM specifications? Would you like me to answer that, or you feel comfortable?
I can answer that.
Sure.
I was like per se, I did have like an artistic passion from the beginning. So if it wasn't teaching, I was actually gonna go work at a film industry. And I really
Oh,
like to
cool.
do that. But you know, even though I'm like my brother actually did he did a film placement and he said it was really good. It was really engagement. He's not part of anything to do with filming right now, but because he's more in like in history and philosophy. But what he is doing with that knowledge and all the things that he gained from it is like now became a side hustle for him. So
Right.
even if it's not
Skill's a skill,
your
right?
main focus, yeah, even if it's not his main focus, he can take that and do like a side income with it. So he can do freelance photography, freelance videography, all that kind of stuff. So you still can build off of passions that you gain from co-op into something that's per se on the side of your main passion.
Yeah, we have a co-op student with us right now who has she didn't know how to do any video editing, and now she's editing a lot of our videos for the board into small sections. So
That's
she's
amazing.
yeah, you get a lot of skills, and yeah, she could definitely do a side hustle with that if she wanted to one day. Right?
Oh, definitely.
Uh,
You can gain like a lot of skills from it. Like you can learn Adobe programs, and
yeah,
sometimes even if they're not directly relevant to your program, like here we have students that are in creative writing. They don't usually use Adobe programs, but they can use it to, let's say, make their work more enticing, more beautiful. So it's, it's in a way feel beneficial.
yeah, for sure. I was actually a graphic designer before I went to university. Kind of reverse of what you did, I guess. Yeah, that's great. I have a kind of a fun question from someone. They wanted to know what kind of clubs you took in high school, if you took any, because I know you're busy.
Oh, good question. I have a phenomenal list of clubs that I was part of because when I started, I was part of like one or two. So starting in grade 9, I joined a sport called ball hockey. And in grade 10, I wanted to be more social. So I joined the AV light crew. So it's basically like imagine you're going to an assembly with your class, with the vice principal, principal, everyone. So these individuals that are part of the club can facilitate the lighting. They're in charge of setting up the microphones, putting it away at the end. Like it's kind of like the behind the scene of any great show. Is lighting, sound, all that. You get to work in like a little booth that's way above the auditorium. You get to see everything from the top. It's amazing. Or you can work backstage. I work both. Um, in technical, which is like all the way in the auditorium at the top. And then I worked in backstage as a manager, just making sure that the cast and crews that are supposed to be on stage next are ready. And I have like anything to prepare for any like technical difficulties. So that was AV crew, part of ambassador. So those individuals kind of like stay at the front of the schools and you're basically representing the school. You greet
Oh, you did all
principals,
the
you
big
greet
ones.
like superintendent from different
Yeah.
schools, and you kind of like you get to meet a lot of individuals and facilitate workshops, represent the school in great ways. And then parent interview nights, you're also representing the school, helping parents get up the elevator if they need to. anyone. And then another thing I was part of that year, I was also director for a play that I wrote that was about like life-changing decisions. And that was a big thing for me because at that point I was like extremely an introverted person and I didn't really talk to anyone. But then going into that, I submitted it for fun. It was very spontaneous. I wrote a script, submitted it, and then it got approved and they're like, "Can you direct this play?" So then I did. And then in grade 11, social justice major program was like I joined the justice program. I was part of mostly the same clubs, but I also joined the yearbook. And then I was part of the drum line as well. And more
Oh
sports,
my gosh,
including
you're
like
like
soccer
everything.
and ball hockey.
Holy moly, that's great.
But I joined a lot of things. I would say like all these clubs that I joined, they were very interactive. They
Mm,
definitely made me a better person for being able to talk to a lot of different age groups. I didn't mention, but I was also part of Link Crew, which was like an orientation program for grade nine and also grade 10, I would say, because even though like I joined in grade 11s, so when I moved to grade 12, Link Crew, and I was a commissioner, which was like the second higher position next to the teachers, um, I still spoke to those students that I were with in like in the previous year. They were asking me questions like, how do I succeed on this exam? I'm not sure about geography. I'm not sure about history. And they'll still come up to me with questions, or even like this question about what kind of clubs I join. They would ask me that too. And I kind of just help them like get out there and put themselves, make sure that they're breaking out of their shy bubble to get more social.
yeah, and I mean, I guess the career you're launching yourself into is very creative. So they must have looked at a lot of those things you did, which were very creative endeavors that you're doing. That must have looked really good too. That's really great. Um, cool. I'm gonna. There are no questions right now, so maybe I'll ask some of these questions if you're okay. That they sent us.
Yeah, of
Um,
course.
sure. I like this question. Are there any myths you you would like to clear up around pathway choice?
It's a good question because um in terms of myth, I feel like something that a lot of assumption that came around this pathway choice that I was making. For say,
Mm-hmm.
first of all, it was gonna be psychology. I was gonna do a lot of work around psychology. And they really say like, of course, like income is the most important thing when it comes to choosing career, but you'll have a lot of voices telling you that certain careers are not gonna get you anywhere. Even when I was switching to graphic design, someone told me, someone who was really close to me, like at that time, told me that like a lot of artists starve, which is not true. Like artists don't starve. They create changes. They are making impact on society through visuals, per se. I'm not necessarily drawing on paper all the time. I'm also working with a lot of other artists, like architectures and other artists in that field. Graphic design is huge. It's not simply designing on a computer, but you can do so much with it. You can design furnitures. You can design like products. You can change product design that are currently out there. And the same goes with psychology. It's so big and diverse, but there should not be an assumption that the field will not take you anywhere. Like that is an assumption that comes out a lot that if you choose something for yourself, you're not necessarily going to get it. It's going to be difficult per se. I would say like you're going to come with a lot of challenges, a lot of setbacks, and per se, it's not going to be like as soon as you graduate, you go straight into the field. Sometimes you have to work to get to that field. Okay, and I would definitely recommend taking internships or any co-op programs that are available in right now or even in post-secondary because by the time you get out of post-secondary, you're already at the level that you want to be in. And I think that's really important, but you'll get there. It just, the pathway looks different for everyone. You can't compare your beginnings to someone else's middle. Like, do not ever compare yourself to anyone. That's really important.
Great advice. I bet you this question people are going to love. I see I've highlighted it. What are the differences between high school and where you are now? They're all looking for some insider knowledge here, I think.
Um, High school is a place where you're starting to carve out your pathway to the future, right? It's not necessarily like marking the pivoting, like it's marking a pivoting point, but not the end destination. So, per se, you're making choices that are like going to let you make wider decision in the future. So you're going to take courses like math and science, but you might not use math and science that much. You might use more English or social science like I'm doing right now. I did take math and science, but they are really useful for like general knowledge. So to be aware of how to take care of myself and that kind of stuff. Um, but that is where high school is a little different. It's also like different in extracurriculars, I noticed, like here at the school I'm in, the clubs are very you know, specific. So if you are a graphic designer like I am, there is programs relating. They're like you're actually working with individuals that are already in the program. Like in school, in high school, you're working with your peers, with your classmates, with your friends, with your teachers. But then you get to post-secondary and these clubs are suddenly a bit more bigger than that. Like you're working with a lot of individuals that are already in the field. And then the other thing about post-secondary is that you're very responsible for yourself. Like in high school, you get a lot of advice and you have your guidance counselor, you got your teachers. Like not saying that no one is here for you in post-secondary, but you are guiding yourself. You're responsible for taking care of your needs. So like let's say if you're gonna live by yourself in like a dorm, for example, you're responsible for taking care of your like your basic need, your basic survival needs. You're also responsible for managing your assignments, your deadlines. No one's gonna tell you to you have to do your assignments. You either do your assignments or you don't do it. And the profs are, they really want you to ensure that you're doing your assignments because if you don't, then that just means like you're not gonna succeed. You're just gonna get a flat out zero. Um, the other thing about that I wanted to say was in like here in post-secondary, they always stress the fact that whatever you do, you have to be able to do that when you actually go into the field. So let's say if I'm handing in assignments late, they tell you that if you do that in the real in like when you actually step out into a design firm, they will not appreciate that. So you have to like really make good decisions and apply that to the real world. And that is I would say like that's the major difference in high school and post-secondary.
Do you feel like they're teaching you a level of professionalism that perhaps us high school teachers can't do?
Definitely a lot more. Like I can
Why?
compare when the time I was in like related graphic design program in like I took a graphic design course in high school. It was
Mhm.
definitely more covering the basics. If you didn't submit something on time, it was okay. But when you get to post-secondary, you don't submit something on time. They really do take a lot of actions. And they have like a whole late policy here that if you don't submit something on time, they might not even accept the assignment. So they're just trying to push you out so that when you go out into the field, you're self disciplining yourself. So that is an important skill to have. They're trying to like make you independent. That's like one of the things that I kind of like came across as I was doing this program here at OCAD is that they're trying to push you to be more independent. So that as an artist, you're not just creating, but you're actually making meaning and you're being professional in your decisions.
Awesome. What a great answer. Thank you so much. I think just considering how many things you do along with going to school, I think this is a good question for you. What strategies have you used to balance all of your responsibilities, changing schedules and things like that?
Um,
Any
Speaking of
tips on
schedules,
balance, keeping it balanced?
like, excuse me. Um, that's also another major difference between high school and post-secondary is that you design your own schedule. I think that's like a benefit. Um, in my school here, we actually get to choose where we want the courses to be. So you can kind of like, let's say I only go to school now 2 days a week, and the rest of the days I'm either working or working on assignments. It's very beneficial. But still, the workload does get heavy. What thesis right now is the workload is incredibly insane. But what something that I do is I use an app called Notion, and Notion is really great for managing your deadlines. And as you complete things, you could just check it off. It's so satisfying to see like your to-do list getting lower and lower, especially towards the end of the semester when you're going like you're counting down the assignments that you have left all the way to the very end. Um, Notion is really good for that. I know a lot of individuals in my program actually use that. Even in other programs, they're always using Notion, and it has different features. Like you can sketch and draw. You can like, if you have ideas, then you could just draw it on that. Um, then it also programs your phone. So let's say if you're not available to take open up a laptop right away, and you think you remember something, you just pull out your phone, pull up the app, and it's all there. And it's like you can also attach reminders. So it would actually like, make you alert about your assignments. So just really useful for that.
Great.
I
We
also
actually
use
got
like a
a,
physical agenda.
oh yeah, me too. I'm all about checklists. I'm all about that kind of stuff. That's that's a really good tip. I mean, it's once I started doing graphic design that I realized how important that was. That's for sure. So we got a question from someone. I think because you are familiar a bit with the business schism. I think because your school had a business schism as well. Eh? Is that correct? Yeah. So the question
Oh
is,
yeah.
are there any benefits to completing the business schism for applying to a business program in Ontario?
Yes, there's a lot of benefits. One thing about the business program is that you get to like it's just very interactive, just like the Justice program. You're working with a lot of businesses, interns, and you can really experience like how to run a successful business. Just like we went to schools and we asked professors about what the program is like in the justice and law field. Um, they got to ask a lot of questions about the business program and like the benefits, but they got to see what the program was about before they actually applied. And then they also got to like compare and contrast. So like let's say for example, Sheridan College. One of my friends went to Sheridan College and they had a co-op program there that they actually really enjoyed because they were working with an existing company. I believe it was Rogers, and
Cool.
they were kind of like getting to understand the business aspect of Rogers. It was so interesting.
Wow.
Um, so there's like even the cooperative program that you can gain within it is like very has a lot of knowledge and is very useful because like in a world that we live in today when you're like actually trying to build an income like it's really good to have a business background to just, like gain double access. um Another thing is that they did a lot of workshop. I heard they did a robotics workshop at one point and that was like
Mhm.
a team building exercise, so you do get to do a lot of interactions like that too, just very much like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just going to throw in too. Maybe you're familiar with the term ICE, innovation, creativity, and entrepreneurship. That one, every schism does this, but in business, I find it's really cool because what this is we bring in uh, someone from the field you're in. So, for example, let's say business. So we brought in a nonprofit organization, for example, that was having some problems figuring out their advertisements and things like that. So a group of business students sat down, learned about the product, learned about the company, and they came up with their own solutions. And what was amazing was I literally saw the person who runs the organization pick up her phone, run outside, and say, "Is this an answer? Like, does this answer our question?" And yes, the students answered the question and solved it for the company. So these experiences happen in schisms all the time. I see someone asking if health and wellness is a benefit. That's a huge benefit because the health field, the medical field, that's one of the main fields that are looking for your experience outside of good marks. So, like, I have many friends who went to medical school. First thing they ask, "What did you do besides get good marks?" So, yeah, do you have anything to add to that, Anna?
Um, Definitely, like you reminded me that even like those who were in my program actually got to do something really similar. They got to make
Mm,
business related decisions for existing product design. So they got to sit with like um product designers or anyone with like who is designing anything like relating to, like information design, for example, like in the bank, they would come up with infographic. So then they would lay all of these out and then they get to choose and they have to explain their reasoning and everything. It's just like making a proper business decision. And you get to learn a lot of business terms too. I think that's more interactive than I'm sitting and trying to memorize business terms in the textbook, but that is like an engaging way to learn business terms.
yeah. Also, they have, I believe, portfolio development is one of the certifications they offer, and it's really cool what they do. Every kid kind of comes out of there a little more assertive of what they want to do. I find, yeah, very cool. So we got
Yeah.
about 8 minutes left. I'm going to ask you another question, if that's okay. How
Chris.
did you deal? Oh, this is interesting. Because I think a lot of people are thinking about this, especially if they're leaving their homes to live in dorms. How did you deal with the increased independence after high school?
Um, Increased independence could be very overwhelming at first. It was for me because first of all, I graduated in the pandemic. So for me, it was I was very independent, very alone. Did not have classmates, could not see my professors in person. So when it came to like decision, if I was doing anything right, you really have to advocate. I think self-advocacy is really important no matter which program you're doing, is that no one's gonna know what you're struggling with unless you tell them. So same like with my hearing deficiency. If I don't tell my professors that I need closed captioning, like I am right now using closed captioning on this call, um, closed captioning or even per se like if I need an extension on an assignment, if I'm struggling with something, I would ask ahead of time. I would always ask questions. They're not going to know your struggles until you actually tell them. I think that's something that you need to foster. Like having that increased independence in my program really pushed me to think that no one else is going to do it except for me. So that you have to really encourage yourself. You have to like be your own motivator sometimes. And in terms of like dealing with failure, you know, you might not get a second chance always to redo something, but you can take those mistakes and fix it. So if you don't do well on an exam, that's okay. You can take whatever you didn't learn and relearn it. Maybe you need to change your study method. Maybe you need to change where you study. Like it really matters setting wise too. Sometimes like for me, I use noise canceling headphones because I focus better when everything is quiet. It might not be the same for everyone. Maybe you need to work with around people, or maybe you need a whiteboard to like draw out things. So really understand yourself, advocate for your needs, and support yourself no matter what.
I'll say that too. I also have special education needs, and I access them and I didn't access them in college, and I struggled a lot. But I did access them when I went to university, and just some things. For example, an extra 30 minutes of my test. I never needed that extra 30 minutes, but it helped me calm down enough to be able to get good grades on those tests. So if you have an IEP, it's 100% worth using it when you're in post-secondary.
Yeah. When I was like
Yeah.
applying for post-secondary, it was not that difficult. I actually transferred all my files to my school and I told them exactly what I use. So I also take extra time too for assignments or if I have an exam or anything like that.
Awesome. Yeah. This is are there SHSM scholarships? Yes, there are SHSM scholarships. I'm actually trying to find the website for it now to pop it in so you have access to it. I think this is it right here. Yeah. Pop it in the link so everyone has access to these. So this is, you have to be graduating as a SHSM student. And there are lots. I just talked to, I can't remember which university. I was just talking to a university that just added a brand new one. So, because they really want SHSM students with ICT backgrounds. So they're now offering one specifically for that. How does health and wellness co-op look like? It can look very different. It really depends on what area you get to do your co-op in. But we have students in medical labs. We have students in hospitals. One of the biggest ones we're doing right now is we have students working with people with Alzheimer's. And that's just spending time with them. That is such a good skill. Patience, working with the elderly, just social skills. That, again, if you're planning on becoming a doctor, you could do that in high school. That's still going to look excellent on your application when you want to apply to medical school. So a co-op, I'd say SHSM in general for health and wellness is excellent. So good questions, guys. Thank you. What do we got now? We got 4 minutes left. So I'm going to try one more of these questions, unless you had something you wanted to add, Emma.
I definitely want us to say like there's something that I mean, is there anything specific? Maybe it's relating to like your passion. So a number of people in my program have switched direction. There were some people that started off with graphic design, they went to illustration. Some people went to environmental design. So that is to say, like your program, just like I said, I was part of social like the justice program. But my program, even though it's not strictly justice, like I'm not strictly in a law program, I'm still using that knowledge and applying it to my work. Um, if you're in business, you might not do something business related in post-secondary, but it will help you learn about the business world and the stock market if you're really interested in investing in that. Um, it also helps you make important life decisions because just like you're making a decision about which product design will appeal to customers, you're making a decision about which direction do you want to take that will not only contribute to your own happiness, but will actually make you healthy. Like you want to wake up every day and be like, I made the best decision. And sometimes it might not stop. Sometimes you'll continuously develop your career as you go on. You might just start off small. Um, like you might start off at a company, but you might switch to another company or another one or another one. Um,
Yeah.
Decisions, pathway finding is something like that's continuous in my opinion. Like you don't want to stop where you are thinking that it's the final. You always want to try new things and make sure that you're challenging yourself. So that way you always find a way to, I guess, foster growth in yourself. That is my suggestion, my advice is that no matter what you do, try different things and maybe you'll come back to it in the future. Like for me right now, I'm not strictly in law, but I might come back to it. It's useful to know that knowledge for sure.
Yeah, and that just says too, you're about to go, if you pick a pathway, that pathway, once you're in your post-secondary, it may change. You have that option. You're not locked. You're not locked in. So don't feel that way. And I just want to say thank you so much, Amna, as we're coming to a close. You're wise beyond your years. These are some amazing tips you've been giving some of these guys. Yeah, so just because these things kind of end very abruptly, I just wanted to make sure I got a chance to say thank you, Anna, and thank you to the over 50 students who came here today to meet with us and talk.
Wow, thank you so
Um,
much, Curtis. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Oh, join a
you.
schism. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.
Close it. Bottom right. There it is. Thanks, Amanda.